I don't know. It's the battle. The going to war with the other guys. Hanging together. Having our own dorm. Staying in hotels the night before the games. Not everybody can play football. We're the lucky ones.
The thing that I'm most proud of myself for, just that I'm here. Not in jail or dead. I ain't no statistic.
Well, the great thing about football is that you can lose yourself in it. There's no time to think or to worry. You just move and react. Well, everything else fades away.
Best thing is when you hit a guy. You know it's killing it. But you feel great. It's just him and you. And he's the one that's hurting. Yeah!
It is routinely listed as one of the greatest entrances in all of sports. Running through the T. Born from two of the greatest innovators in school history, the iconic introduction of the Tennessee Volunteers yields an unlikely backstory.
We were dressing in the east side of the stadium before the games, and that's where we were early on, and I decided I would rather be on the west side. Said, well, how are we going to get over there? That the other team comes out, we're going to have to run through the other team. So I asked Dr. Julian, I said, well, maybe the band could come up there and make up something. He said, well, I'll make a T and you run through the T. And so we decided to run through that T, and it worked out, and the other team never bothered the band.
What began as a defensive maneuver quickly vaulted to one of Tennessee's illustrious traditions. The route has since shifted 90 degrees and now welcomes the Vols onto the field from the north end zone. To this day, fans routinely arrive early to catch the Pride's pregame performance, which is capped by this electric entrance and signals one thing.
It's football time in Tennessee.
For those of you that have just climbed out from underneath a really big rock, this is Mr. Football in the state of Tennessee for 2 years running in the 4A class. And sadly, he has to leave us Green Devils this year. He's moving on to the Army. Big time stuff, man. What made you decide to go to Army?
Well, kind of always had that desire to serve, and when those opportunities came about, been blessed to be healthy and play well out there and get those opportunities to the service academies, and they're all three really great. I kind of narrowed it down to those three right away: Air Force, Navy, and Army. But
and you got offers from all three?
Yes, and I decided to go ahead and pull the trigger with Army because I felt most comfortable there. It felt like home. It's a lot like Greeneville, that town.
West Point is located about 50 miles north of New York City. It's in the Hudson Highlands. It's called West Point because it's located on the western point of the Hudson River where it bends. George Washington recognized this as a strategic point of interest because the British had to tack as they came through the Hudson River. It's the longest continuously garrisoned military installation in the United States.
Even though you're 50 miles north of the biggest city in the world, New York City, it felt like home. It's got the green hills, and there's not many people around. You're just kind of there, and it's kind of a Army town, and it's a great place.
Had you ever been to West Point before you got interested in this?
I had not.
So you were probably shocked when you got up there and saw just how beautiful it really
is. It was actually me, Dad, and Coach McCall. Going into my junior year, I went up there to a one-day camp and did really well. Then it took them a whole year to really get back to me and talking to me again and offer me. When I went up there, the drive up's amazing in itself, through the Shenandoah Valley there and up through Pennsylvania into New Jersey, and then you go up through New York, and it's a great drive to even drive up through there.
What's the, if you can even discuss this, I'm not sure, your first week coming up at Army, and we'll get to some of the past stuff in a second, what are you anticipating for your first, it'll be first few moments, but for your first week once you actually get on campus?
Yeah, so the first thing we have to do as cadets is get there, and you have 6 weeks of basic training. They call it Beast Barracks. It's basically basic training.
On a scorching Monday in July, over 1,200 cadet candidates arrive at the U.S. Military Academy for Reception Day. It marks the beginning of their time at West Point.
All day long, the new cadets will do a transformation from their civilian status, and at the end of the day, take their oath to serve our nation in the Army.
After a short orientation, the cadet candidates have 60 seconds to say goodbye to their families. For the next 6 weeks, contact with family members, if any, is extremely limited.
Same as the regular Army? Or
I think there might be a little more like memorization skills in it and stuff that I have to do that, maybe, because you're going into West Point to come out as an officer, as a second lieutenant, so it's not like you're enlisting and going in. You have that 6 weeks, and that's kind of to test you, and really, they're going to try to break you down and build you back up, which is what they're supposed to do.
This is one of the most intense exercises at West Point's basic training. New cadets must rappel down a 25-foot cliff face.
Lean back. We're good.
Then a 75-foot wall.
See what's coming up?
Oh, hell.
Jump.
Hell yeah!
The United States Military Academy in West Point, New York, is the #1 military academy in the U.S., where 120,000 of the nation's top students and soldiers apply each year.
And, it's going to be a tough experience, but
How hard is Cade Ballard going to be to break down?
those guys, that's what they do, and it'll be an experience, and I'm looking forward to my time at West Point.
Move! Let's go! Up to the tape!
You'll move along the wall. Am I understood?
Yes, sir. Think you're special. Look straight forward.
In 2018, to be accepted at West Point, you must be a United States citizen, in good physical condition, pass a medical exam to be able to be commissioned in the Army, and have high academic achievement.
Tuition at West Point is free, but the cadets commit to years of service after graduation.
After their 4 years at West Point, they've committed to 5 years active duty in the Army with 3 years in the reserve component.
Hey, we're looking forward to seeing how you come out on the other end. I don't imagine most basic college football fans even understand how things work with the military academies. It's totally different than, say, if you went to Tennessee or any other SEC school that should have been on board trying to recruit you, in my opinion. But do you think would be the biggest difference, other than the basic training, and just the living between what you would see at a regular university versus a military academy?
Yeah, I've definitely as much research and stuff as I've done, all 3 academies. The academy life is so much different than just the normal college life, and that's what you're giving up by going. You don't have a college life. You're growing up at 18 years old, and it's a lot different. I remember being at West Point and them giving a presentation, and it was like the past 3 or 4 years, record-wise, they were in the top 25 of records, and they had West Point and I think Stanford highlighted, and they said those are probably the only 2 schools in the top 25 there that their kids actually have to go to class. It's just a different world. I mean, sleep comes at a premium there. I mean,
that's kind of part of it, isn't it? Sleep deprivation.
Yeah, it is. It's a challenge, and I'm not even sure. I don't have my mind wrapped around it. I'm just going to have to go and try to figure it out. But I've got college football fans for sure. I mean, they're to be where Army is and West Point and Navy's been there and Air Force has been in the top 25 before. To be able to be that good at that level, with everything that they have to go through. I mean, you got a full-time job in football, and then you've got more than a full-time job in academics and military stuff that you have to do your obligations.
120,000 of the nation's top students and soldiers apply each year. Only 10% get in.
The most important thing we do at West Point is teach leadership, followership, and instill the warrior ethos. Because when they graduate here, they're going to go lead America's sons and daughters.
It's an interesting dynamic there, and I look forward to trying to figure it all out.
Do you remember how far back it's been or it was since you started having an interest in the military academy?
Well, I've got some family. I don't have really immediate family that has served in the armed forces, but I've had cousins and some stuff on my dad's side and my mom's side, but that have done stuff in the military, and I don't know. I've been kind of a patriot. I love my country, and I've just always that the freedom that we have here. I think and I do too. A lot of people take it for granted, the freedom that we do have in this country, and to be able to represent and potentially fight for your country, and just what something to hang your hat on and say I did my duty.
You got 2 little sisters. Tell everybody who the Ballard sisters are.
Parker and Palmer, they're something else now. They're a little different than I am, which is great. I wouldn't want them to be exactly like me. They're loving sisters. They love everybody, and they'll talk to everybody and talk to anybody, and they're 2 great sisters. They drive me crazy sometimes, but hey, that's what they're supposed to do. But yeah, me and Dad we've taken a lot of time for ourselves, and we've had to, and to accomplish what we wanted to accomplish. But yeah, Mom and the girls, when we get home, they bring us back to earth, and it's family time when we get home. But yeah, they're 2 great ones for sure.
And I'm actually kind of excited for your dad to not have to worry about all this and to be able to spend some time with his daughters. When did you guys decide that football was going to be your path?
Well, I've had a football in my hand as far back as I can remember, but I don't know. Football's always been my game. I've played baseball, basketball. I think I played a little bit of soccer too, maybe.
Somebody told me that you were really, really good at basketball.
I might have been able to play a little defense. I don't know about scoring, but yeah. But it's always been my game. And when I got to high school, I just 100% committed to myself to being as good as I could be. And Dad, I think at the time, I think we didn't win it in 12, 13, or 14. Had a tough loss at Sullivan South in 2014, and I think he was having a tough time. With I was coming up, and they'd come off 3 or 4 years there that wasn't what they wanted it to be, and I was scared that he might step down even 4 or 5 years ago, but we got up here, and I was fortunate enough to be in a position. I knew the offense. I knew everything that was going on. I did enough in summer ball to be able to start my freshman year, and the rest is history. We've worked really hard, and my dad's handled everything so great. And like you said, I'm glad he's got a little time here be dad.
And I don't think people realize how much goes in to being a high school football coach, and I mean just a regular high school football coach. And this is not regular by any means here. We've had a couple of people come back that went on to college and said that the practices were way harder here. I don't think that's going to be the case with you, but freshman year, you're named the starter. I know how hard that was for your dad. How hard was it for you as a freshman, looking up to some of the bigger guys? How hard was that for you to actually take the reins and try and take over as a leader?
You know, it was tough. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, some of those guys. I was in 6th grade when some of those guys were sophomores, and they were playing on a really good football team in high school. And I still, you know, I looked up to them. You know, I was in 6th or 7th grade. Some of those guys that were seniors, and they did a good job of kind of welcoming me in. And we beat Anderson County that first game of the year, and I played pretty well, managed the game okay. We handed it to Desmond about 40 times. He was a great guy to have in there with me. What a talented guy he was. But, you know, I was proud of that football team. That was, you know, we grinded that year out for sure, because there were some tough moments in that year for everybody involved.
Yeah.
But that senior class, I'll never forget them. They did a good job of welcoming me in and kind of going with the flow and helping me out. But that experience that year was invaluable. I mean, it was unbelievable. The amount the game slowed down even my sophomore year. Yeah, we had a heartbreaking loss against Central in the second round, but we were 11-0 going to that game, and I knew it was going to come together eventually. I wish it would have came together that year, because that was a special senior group, guys that I grew up with too. But
kind of stole my next question there. What was your most heartbreaking loss here?
Central. Yeah, Central. You know, I underperformed that game. I turned it over a few times, and to have it end the way it ended, obviously, with the Hail Mary or whatever, was awful. And I remember walking through this hallway right here with my dad. I don't know, it's probably midnight, 11 o'clock or midnight, walking down the field house hallway. We were shutting everything up, about to leave. I was still riding with him at the time. I wasn't driving. And I just told him we're going to be really good eventually. I made it a goal to do it back to back. I wanted to do it 4 times in a row. Who wouldn't? 3 times in a row. But I knew we were going to have a really good chance to do it my junior and senior year, and we were blessed for it to come true.
I think along with that being the most heartbreaking loss that you had here, I think it was probably one of the most important.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
That was the driving force next year.
I think that we would have been really good the last 2 years, even if we'd have won that game. But the sting of that loss was what motivated us and put us to another level the next 2 years. Even last year, my senior year, when we were making our run again back at it, I just remember that feeling and that scoreboard and our fans and everybody filing out of there at the end, just mad and sad. And, you know, we were supposed to do it that year. Catholic got beat that night by Fulton, and I thought it was setting up for us to do it, and then they throw a Hail Mary and beat us. But that's what sent us to another level for sure.
Well, I think things like that are a big part of helping young men grow up. Mm-hmm. I know it sure helped a lot of us fans grow up. Who has hit you the hardest? Either out here in practice. I know you don't get hit much. You didn't get hit a whole lot out here, but who put the biggest lick on Cade Ballard in 4 years?
Jadarius Sackey from Central, my sophomore year in that game. It was 3rd and 3. We called 50, which is a draw. Pulled it back. Donovan went and led on the backer he was supposed to, and we didn't get to Sackey. He actually stunted. There's A gap or B gap. I think it was B gap. And I took my little drop and then started to try to pick my way through, and he come through and hammered me. He's a great player. He's 5'6", 220 pounds probably, and I was probably my sophomore year 5'9", 170 pounds, and he got me pretty good. But that's probably the hardest I've been hitting the game.
I'm gonna tell you guys something. This is in no way rehearsed. We haven't talked anything about this before we sat down. We pulled up at the same time, came in here, sat down. I have no notes. I'm not prepared for this. You see how quick he answered that question? So that had to be a pretty good lick for you to not know what's coming, and answer it. So shout out to you, Jadarius. Who did you put the biggest lick on? Who did you truck the best? This is your chance to rub something in on someone, and I know that's not your forte there.
I don't know. I'd say my 8th grade year, actually. It has to be my 8th grade year.
Wow.
You made a video about it, actually, my 8th grade year. We was playing T.A. Duggar out here. And we ran 19, which is our option play to the left. And I cut it back. And there was some kid from T.A. Duggar there, and I think I was on like the 2-yard line. I pretty good lick on him and ended up getting in the end zone there, and we ended up winning that game in 8th grade. But I think that's my most memorable, I guess you could say.
We'll keep it with football. Most satisfying victory in 4 years.
Those state championship games are obvious. I mean, holding the goal ball up. But
either one of them?
No, I mean, but it's all, that feeling is the exact same both times you win. And I guess as a senior, especially the way that game turned out, going up right at the beginning of the game. But I'll probably. Those 2 games stand alone, but those aren't regular games. Third round of playoffs last year, Anderson County. My dad, I think, had a quote in the paper that said that's the most satisfying victory of his career, and that's saying a lot. Yeah. And we had heard for a year that how they were going to beat us. It was their time and all this. And
Monday was Green Monday for those guys.
And they thought they were going to do it, but they just didn't. They didn't have the dudes to do it.
I'm pretty sure I know the answer to this one. Any time going into any game, is Cade Ballard ever concerned about losing?
In the last 2 years, I've never gone into a game thinking we're going to lose.
That's kind of what I was.
What made our team so great the last 2 years, it was my freshman, sophomore year teams. I was on good teams too, and I never went into a game wanting to lose, and I hope my teammates didn't either. But the last 2 years, me and Coach Crawford have actually discussed this. What made our team so good, me and along with all my great teammates, we got to a point where we went into games. There was none of us thought about losing. We wanted to play and be so perfect every single game that's what made us nervous before games, is being how good could we get. I think we played Pisgah last year. I think it was Pisgah, and we beat them 42-14. Yeah, beat them 42-14 or 42-7 or something, and I felt like we lost after the game. We didn't play well. We turned it over a few times.
Close at halftime, too.
Yeah, it was close at halftime, but that game, I felt like we lost the game. We beat them by like 30. So.
Anybody in the state of Tennessee last year beating the Green Devils in a game?
I wouldn't go into a game thinking we were going to lose ever. I would love to have seen the Greeneville-Oakland matchup. That would have been. They were great. There's a lot of great football teams last year, obviously. I mean, tons of great teams. But I watched most of the games. Oakland could play, and that'd have been an awesome game to be a part of.
And they shut Maryville out in the semifinals,
Yep.
and I don't recall anybody ever doing that.
Yep. It's
In my
impressive.
recent memory, yeah. Coming up, who was your favorite college football team? Who did you root for the most?
It shouldn't be a hard question because I'm in Rocky Top country.
Right.
I've rooted for Alabama in every national championship they've ever played in that I've been alive for. It shouldn't be a hard question because I'm in Rocky Top country.
Right.
Honestly, I love dynasties. I've rooted for Alabama in every national championship they've ever played in that I've been alive for. Yep, that hurts. I've rooted for.
I'm done.
Yeah, I've rooted for Golden State. I've rooted for the New England Patriots. I just love the dynasty and greatest. I'm intrigued by that.
That's honestly probably why you've turned into a winner. I think winners appreciate winners, and I think it's just a mentality.
Yeah.
I didn't mean to interrupt you there.
Well, you're exactly right. I'm intrigued by winners and what they do and their mindsets. But I wish Tennessee would have been Alabama when I was growing. I mean, I was kind of, you got to be a diehard fan of all this, and I agree with that. But like you know, they weren't very good. And when I was being, you know, influenced and who I wanted to, you know, my mom and dad are both alumni, but still, you know.
Now we can set up the fake version of that question. So who's your favorite college football team?
Tennessee Volunteers. Tennessee Volunteers.
Yeah, I'll put that in there. I was actually kind of curious about that. I know you root for Tennessee, and you know we text a lot over the games and stuff, but I just always kind of wondered if there was another team out there.
Yeah.
What coach in this, to me, legendary coaching room here has made you smile the most or laugh in 4 years? I think I know the answer to this. But.
Okay, I'm going to go with 1A and 1B.
Okay.
The two number ones, he stopped coaching to go do other things and help his life a few years ago. Coach Quillen, Josh Quillen, he is hilarious. Yes, absolutely. Really? And I'd ag him on a lot and stuff, and he agged me on. We'd throw needles at each other, but you know he made me laugh. And Coach Bentley, oh my goodness, he's a good one. You know, but all these guys, man, this is my second family in here. I've probably spent more time with them than I have with my mom and my sisters and you know my dad when we're all at one sitting there. But you know, at this room right here, this is my second home and will always be my second home. And my goodness, the memories that I have in this building with these great men in here is awesome. You know, see what I want to do in the future, and just kind of always had that passion, and it's fun to be able to do it here. I have some people in my family that fly a little bit, and thought I'd try it out, and it's a blessing to have this place here. May 11th, I think, right when school let out, is the first time that I went up and kind of got going on this. A little adrenaline. I like the adrenaline. I mean, it, you know, especially when you're soloing, it's you off the ground and you got to put it back on the ground, and you know, it's a shot of adrenaline. But I mean, it's fun. It's you know exactly what you have to do to get back on the ground, and it's just very fun. Yeah, I kind of wanted to get my solo in before school started, and you know, we've been going in football, but kind of had that time from school to football. So yeah, I got that accomplished, and you know, I have to drive to Tri-Cities, which is maybe 40 minutes. It's not bad. We'll just go real early in the morning and knock it out and get back for school. So. My next big step is the cross-country stuff, so flying from different airports, just learning more about each airport and how to deal with them, and start talking to air traffic control and stuff like that.